Hi, Reddit, I'm Lily 28F, living in Seattle and working as a project manager at a tech company. I make a pretty comfortable $135,000 a year, and I'm proud to say I've built a good life for myself. It wasn't handed to me though, it's the result of a lot of hard work, budgeting, and long hours. Growing up, I didn't have a silver spoon in my mouth, but my sister Victoria, 30F, sure did. She's what you'd call the golden child of the family. My parents, James of 59M, and Maria, 57F, treated her like she was their pride and joy. Victoria had the picture-perfect life growing up, she never had to work for anything. My parents paid for her college tuition, bought her a car, and even helped with the down payment for her first house. Meanwhile, I chose a different path. I was working part-time jobs through college, living off scholarships, and scraping by to pay my rent and bills. When I graduated, I had zero debt but a whole lot of exhaustion. Uncle William, 62M, he's my mom's brother, was one of the only people who noticed how hard I worked. He's a self-made millionaire who built his real estate empire from nothing. He never had kids of his own, so he's always been super generous with our family. However, he believes in working for what you have, so while he supported Victoria and my parents financially, he respected that I was making my own way. Victoria and her husband Daniel, 32M, live this glamorous-looking life, but it's all smoke and mirrors. The funny thing is, Victoria's Instagram is full of curated photos of their vacations, Nathan's, 8M, private school events, and expensive dinners out. But if you peel back the curtain, it's all Uncle William's money. She and Daniel don't have real jobs. Daniel's technically in sales, but he's mediocre at best, and Victoria's never worked a day in her life. She calls herself a full-time mom, but let's be real, she has a nanny. My parents too are fully funded by Uncle William. They live in a nice retirement community in Arizona, and their medical bills and monthly expenses are covered by him. My dad spent most of his life as a factory worker and my mom was a teacher, so they never really saved much for retirement. They don't seem to feel any guilt about leaning on Uncle William though, they act like it's their birthright. Uncle William once told me, "Lily, you're the only one in this family who knows what it means to stand on your own 2 feet." Hearing that meant the world to me because it felt like someone finally saw my struggle. I know Victoria resents me for having that kind of relationship with him, but the truth is, she wouldn't survive without him. I don't expect anything from my parents anymore, and honestly, I'm okay with that. It's just hard to watch them constantly cater to Victoria while acting like she's some kind of saint for spending money that isn't even hers. The most infuriating part is how Victoria acts like she's better than me. She's constantly flaunting her lifestyle, making snide comments about how I work too much or don't know how to enjoy life. But the truth is, I'm happy. My life might not be as flashy as hers, but it's real and it's mine. So, this Christmas, let's just say things reached a breaking point. Every Christmas, Uncle William treats the family to this big fancy trip. It's something we've done for years, and I'm not going to lie, it's nice. For a few days, we stay in luxury hotels, eat amazing food, and sometimes even get along. Uncle William likes to go all out, and honestly, I think it's his way of keeping the family together since we all live in different states now. This year, he decided on a ski resort in Aspen. I'm not much of a skier, but I was still excited because, come on, Aspen in December is stunning. Plus, it's not like I go on fancy vacations every day. Uncle William put Victoria in charge of booking everything, which in hindsight was mistake number 1, but he's always trusted her to handle these things, probably because she has nothing else going on and plenty of free time. I thought about offering to help, but I didn't want to step on any toes. Victoria loves being the planner because it gives her an excuse to take credit for everything, even though she's just booking stuff with Uncle William's money. I figured, what's the worst that could happen? I booked my flight and got to Aspen a little later than everyone else because of work. My company had a big project deadline, so I had to wrap things up before I could leave. I arrived at the resort around 4 p.m., dragging my suitcase through the snow. The place was gorgeous, picture snow-covered mountains, cozy little cabins, and twinkling lights strung up everywhere. It looked like something out of a Christmas movie. The main lodge was even more incredible, huge stone fireplace, vaulted ceilings, and floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of the mountains. Families were lounging by the fire with hot chocolate, couples were coming in from the slopes, and everyone looked like they were having the best time. I walked up to the front desk, expecting this smooth welcome experience, but instead, the clerk gave me this confused look. "I'm sorry, ma'am," she said, typing furiously on her computer, "we don't have a reservation under your name." At first, I thought okay, maybe Victoria just forgot to add me, mistakes happen. But nope, Victoria didn't forget. She did it on purpose. The moment she walked into the lobby, I knew I was about to get some kind of smug, passive-aggressive comment. Victoria's always had this way of turning any situation into a chance to feel superior, and this was no different. She showed up looking like she was about to film a commercial for winter coats, designer everything, perfect hair, a big smile that could cut glass. "Oh, Lily," she said, acting like she was surprised to see me, "didn't I tell you? I only booked rooms for the real family, me, Daniel, Nathan, and of course, Mom and Dad." I don't think I've ever been so stunned into silence. Like, how do you even respond to something like that? The way she said real family made it pretty clear she didn't consider me part of the group, and the fact that she was completely unapologetic, that was the cherry on top. I glanced over at my parents, hoping they'd step in and say something, but they just avoided eye contact like they were embarrassed, but not enough to actually do anything about it. Victoria kept going, "Of course, she never knows when to stop, but you're so independent, right?" she said in that fake sweet voice she uses when she's pretending to be nice but is really just mocking you. "I'm sure you can find something nearby." Then she laughed like this whole situation was some kind of joke. I could feel my face getting hot, but I wasn't about to let her see me upset. I've learned over the years that Victoria thrives on making people feel small, and the best way to deal with her is to act like she doesn't bother you. So I took a deep breath, forced myself to smile, and said, "All right, enjoy your holiday then." I grabbed my suitcase and walked out. As I left the lobby, I could feel Victoria's smug gaze on my back. She probably thought she'd won, that she'd managed to humiliate me. And maybe she had, a little bit, but I wasn't about to let her ruin my trip. The truth is, this wasn't the first time Victoria had pulled something like this. She's always been the queen of exclusion, whether it's accidentally forgetting to invite me to family dinners or conveniently not mentioning plans until it's too late for me to join. It's like she gets some kind of sick satisfaction from reminding me that in her eyes, I don't belong. And my parents, they've always let her get away with it. They'll say things like, "Oh, that's just Victoria," or "She didn't mean it like that," as if her actions don't have real consequences. But this felt different. This wasn't just a dinner or a casual get-together. This was Christmas, a family tradition, and she deliberately left me out, knowing full well how much it would hurt. By the time I made it outside, I was fuming. The cold air hit my face, but it did nothing to cool me down. I pulled out my phone and started looking up nearby hotels, determined to find somewhere else to stay. I wasn't about to go crawling back to Victoria or my parents begging for a place to sleep. After a few minutes of searching, I found another luxury hotel about 10 minutes away. They had a suite available. It was ridiculously expensive, but I didn't care. I wasn't going to let Victoria and her petty nonsense ruin my Christmas. I called my two best friends, Kate and Grace. Neither of them had big plans for Christmas this year. Kate's family was out of town, and Grace had just gone through a breakup and wasn't in the mood to celebrate. "Hey, so how do you feel about spending Christmas in Aspen?" I asked. They didn't even hesitate. Within hours, they were on their way. That evening, we turned my suite into our personal Christmas retreat. We ordered room service, everything from burgers to desserts, then hit the outdoor hot tub overlooking the mountains. The steam rose up into the cold night air, and for the first time that day, I actually felt like I was on vacation. While we were sitting in the hot tub, we started talking about the whole situation with Victoria. Kate couldn't believe it. "She actually said you weren't part of the real family?" Grace shook her head. "She's always been a piece of work, but this is a new low." Later that night, we went back to the suite and cranked up some Christmas music. We danced around in our pajamas, ate way too much chocolate, and laughed until our sides hurt. It felt like we were kids again, having a sleepover and not worrying about anything else in the world. I decided to post a few Instagram stories. I wasn't trying to be petty, okay, maybe I was a little petty, but I wanted Victoria to see that her little stunt hadn't ruined my holiday. I posted a video of us in the hot tub with the mountains in the background, another of us dancing in the suite, and a photo of our ridiculous room service spread. Sure enough, Victoria was the first person to view them. I could practically feel her fuming through the screen. Knowing her, she probably couldn't stand the idea that I was having a better time than she was. Victoria's the kind of person who thrives on being the center of attention, so seeing me happy and unbothered must have driven her nuts. The next morning, I woke up to a text from Uncle William. He wanted to meet for breakfast at my hotel. I knew he must have heard something about what went down at the other lodge, and I was equal parts relieved and nervous. Uncle William doesn't mess around when it comes to family. When I met him in the hotel restaurant, he was already sitting at a corner table, sipping coffee and looking as calm and collected as ever. Uncle William is one of those people who commands attention without even trying. He's sharp, no nonsense, and always seems like he's 10 steps ahead of everyone else. We exchanged pleasantries, but he cut to the chase pretty quickly. "So, Lily," he said, setting his coffee cup down, "what happened at the lodge?" I took a deep breath and told him everything, from the moment I arrived and found out I didn't have a reservation to Victoria's smug little speech about booking rooms for the real family. I didn't sugarcoat anything, but I also tried not to sound too whiny. I just laid out the facts. As I spoke, I could see Uncle William's expression shift. At first, he just looked thoughtful, but as I kept talking, his face darkened. By the time I finished, he was shaking his head in disbelief. "I trusted Victoria to handle the booking for everyone," he said, his voice low and firm. "I can't believe she excluded you like that. And your parents just stood there and let it happen?" I nodded. "Pretty much." Uncle William sighed and leaned back in his chair. "Unbelievable," he muttered. The waiter came by with our food, pancakes for me, eggs and toast for Uncle William, and we sat in silence for a minute while he processed everything. Finally, he set his fork down and looked at me. "Don't worry, Lily. I'll take care of this." I didn't know exactly what he meant by "take care of this," but I wasn't about to argue. If there's one thing I've learned about Uncle William, it's that when he says he's going to do something, he means it. After breakfast, he said he had some calls to make and left for his room. I went back to my suite where Kate and Grace were already up and planning our day. I didn't tell them much about my conversation with Uncle William, mostly because I didn't know what was going to happen yet, but I had a feeling things were about to get interesting. A couple of hours later, I got my answer, and let me tell you, Uncle William didn't hold back. Update 1, it's been a week since the Christmas incident, and wow, things have escalated quickly. Uncle William wasn't kidding when he said he'd take care of this. Let me break down what happened after our breakfast conversation. First, Uncle William didn't just cancel their hotel reservations, he completely cut off all financial support to Victoria and my parents. Immediately. No warning, no gradual reduction, just complete termination of all assistance. Victoria's perfect life turned out to be a house of cards, and it came crashing down spectacularly. The first sign of trouble came when Victoria's credit cards started getting declined. Apparently, Uncle William had been paying those bills too. She tried to keep it quiet, but word got around when she had to cancel Nathan's winter break activities because she couldn't cover the fees. Then came the mortgage payment issue. Turns out, Uncle William had been making contributions to their monthly payments to help them maintain their lifestyle in their fancy neighborhood. Without his support, they're scrambling to figure out how to keep their house. Daniel's commission-based sales job isn't nearly enough to cover their expenses, and Victoria's been in such denial about money that they have practically no savings. The most ironic part? Victoria started calling me repeatedly, leaving voicemails ranging from angry accusations to tearful pleas. "How could you do this to us?" she demanded in one message. "Nathan is crying because we had to cancel his private tennis lessons. Are you happy now?" In another message, she actually tried to guilt-trip me. "I know I made a mistake at Christmas, but do you really want to see your nephew suffer?" I haven't responded to any of her messages. After years of her treating me like I wasn't part of the real family, it's almost comical how desperately she wants my help now. My parents aren't handling it much better. Mom called me in tears, saying they might have to leave their retirement community because they can't afford the monthly fees without Uncle William's help. We're too old to start over, she sobbed. Can't you talk to your uncle? He'll listen to you. The audacity of that request honestly left me speechless. After they stood by and watched Victoria exclude me from Christmas, after years of enabling her behavior and dismissing my feelings, they really expect me to advocate for them? Dad sent me a long email about how disappointed he is in my lack of family loyalty. According to him, I'm being vindictive and petty by turning Uncle William against the family. He conveniently forgot to mention how they showed zero loyalty to me when Victoria was pulling her stunt. The most satisfying part of all this? Victoria's Instagram has gone dark. No more daily posts about her blessed life or perfectly staged family photos. No more humble bragging about Nathan's expensive private school or their luxury vacations. Her last post was from before Christmas, with some generic caption about family is everything. The irony is almost too perfect. Uncle William called me yesterday to check in. He wasn't gloating or anything, that's not his style, but he did say something that really stuck with me. Sometimes people need to lose everything to understand the value of anything. He also mentioned that both Victoria and my parents had been bombarding him with calls and emails, but he's standing firm. They made their choice, he said, now they can live with it. I have to admit, there's a part of me that feels a tiny bit guilty watching everything implode. But then I remember Victoria's smug face in that hotel lobby, saying I wasn't part of the real family. I remember all the times my parents brushed off her behavior, all the years of being made to feel like I wasn't good enough because I chose to make my own way instead of depending on handouts. Kate and Grace have been incredibly supportive through all this. They're just facing the consequences of their own actions, Kate pointed out during our coffee meetup yesterday. Grace added, maybe this will finally teach them that money isn't everything. Meanwhile, I'm focusing on my work and my own life. Our company's big project is going well, and there's talk of a promotion in the near future. It's ironic, while Victoria's carefully constructed world is falling apart, the life I built on my own is only getting stronger. I never wanted revenge or to see my family suffer. All I ever wanted was to be treated with respect and acknowledged as an equal member of the family. It's sad that it took such drastic measures for them to realize that their actions have consequences, but sometimes that's what it takes. Victoria, Daniel, and my parents are about to learn what it means to stand on their own 2 feet. Maybe then they'll understand the value of hard work and independence that Uncle William saw in me all along. Update 2. It's been a month since my last update, and the situation with my family has taken some dramatic turns. Victoria and Daniel were forced to sell their house. They couldn't even make it through 2 months of mortgage payments without Uncle William's support. They've moved to a small rental house on the outskirts of town, and Victoria is not handling the downgrade well. The biggest change? Nathan had to transfer from his prestigious private school to the local public school. Victoria tried to spin it on social media as a conscious choice to give Nathan a more grounded experience, but everyone knows the truth. She couldn't afford the $30,000 annual tuition anymore. Her Instagram, which used to be full of photos from school galas and fundraisers, hasn't been updated in weeks. The funniest part is watching Victoria try to maintain appearances. She was spotted at Target buying home decor, something she would have considered beneath her just a few months ago. When some of her elite mom friends ran into her there, she practically hid behind the seasonal displays. The same women she used to host charity luncheons would now pretend not to see her at school pickup. Daniel's been forced to actually work harder at his sales job. No more long golf meetings or extended lunch breaks. He's finally realizing that without Uncle William's connections and subtle financial support, he's just another mediocre salesman struggling to make quota. As for my parents, they've had to downsize too. They sold their condo in the luxury retirement community and moved to a modest apartment complex. Mom keeps saying it's temporary until they sort things out with William, but I think deep down they know this is their new reality. The most surprising development? Victoria's actually had to start looking for a job. After 15 years of being a full-time mom, with a full-time nanny, she's discovering that her skill set is somewhat limited. She tried to apply for some marketing positions, claiming her experience managing her personal brand on Instagram qualified her, but so far, no takers. Meanwhile, I just got promoted to senior project manager. The irony isn't lost on me. While they're all struggling to adjust to living within their means, my career is taking off. I bought myself a nice bottle of champagne to celebrate, and Uncle William sent me a beautiful bouquet with a card that read, "Success is the best revenge." Proud of you. Kate pointed out something interesting yesterday. Notice how none of them have actually apologized to you? They're all just sorry they got caught and lost their meal ticket. She's right. Among all the tears and accusations and pleas for help, not once has anyone said, "I'm sorry for treating you like you weren't family." I guess some people never learn. They're so busy mourning their lost lifestyle that they still can't see what they did wrong in the first place. Update 3, it's been 3 months since everything changed, and I'm finally ready to share what's been happening. The dust has settled, and everyone's true colors are showing more clearly than ever. Last week was my birthday, and I received a handwritten card from Uncle William that brought tears to my eyes. "Dear Lily," he wrote, "watching you build your life on your own terms has been one of my greatest joys. Your strength isn't in spite of your struggles, it's because of them. Never doubt that independence is the greatest gift you've given yourself. Proud of you always." The timing of his card was perfect because I just finalized the paperwork for my new position. With my promotion to senior project manager came a significant raise and stock options. I'm now earning $165,000 a year, plus bonuses. The irony isn't lost on me. I'm now making more than Daniel ever did, even in his best years with Uncle William's hidden support. Victoria and Daniel's new reality has fully set in. Victoria had to get a job as an administrative assistant at a local real estate office. Oh, the irony of working in real estate after years of living in luxury thanks to Uncle William's real estate empire. She's struggling with basic office work and having to answer to a boss for the first time in her life. Daniel's commission-based sales have been hitting rock bottom. Without Uncle William's business connections feeding him leads, he's discovering just how mediocre his sales skills really are. They've had to sell both their luxury cars and now share a used Honda Civic. Nathan seems to be the only one adapting well to their new circumstances. He's made friends at his new public school and joined the soccer team. Ironically, he seems happier now that Victoria can't micromanage every aspect of his life through expensive activities and private tutors. My parents have had to learn budgeting for the first time in years. They've lost their country club membership and most of their friends, along with it. Dad's trying to supplement their income by driving for Uber, something he would have considered beneath him just a few months ago. Mom's looking into substitute teaching again, but being out of the workforce for so long has made it difficult. Victoria started a lifestyle blog about embracing simple living, as if she had a choice. Her first post was about finding joy in home-cooked meals after their weekly dining out budget disappeared. The comments were brutal, with people calling out her obvious attempt to rebrand her forced lifestyle changes as voluntary choices. The desperation in their attempts to contact me has evolved too. At first, it was all anger and accusations. Then came the guilt-tripping and emotional manipulation. Now, they're trying a new approach, humility. Well, fake humility. Victoria sent me a long email about how she's learned so much from this experience and how she never realized the value of hard work until now. Somehow, she still managed to make it all about her without actually apologizing for what she did. Mom and Dad have been sending messages about healing the family and moving forward together. Dad even suggested that since I'm doing so well now, maybe I could help them out financially. The audacity still amazes me. They seem to think that because I'm successful, I owe them something. Uncle William called me last week to share some interesting news. Victoria had shown up at his office unannounced, trying to explain her side of the story. He said she broke down crying in the lobby, causing such a scene that security had to escort her out. He wasn't moved by her performance. "Crocodile tears don't pay bills," he told me. She's still trying to manipulate her way back into my wallet instead of actually changing. Last weekend, I bought my first home, a beautiful condo in a trendy part of Seattle. I did it all on my own, saved for the down payment, got approved for the mortgage based on my own income and credit, and negotiated the deal myself. When I got the keys, I felt a sense of pride that no amount of handed-down wealth could ever match. Victoria still views this whole situation as a temporary setback, something she needs to survive until things go back to normal. What she doesn't understand is that this is normal, earning your own way, living within your means, facing the consequences of your actions. These are the basic realities most people live with every day. I've learned that family isn't about who shares your blood, it's about who shares your values. Uncle William, Kate, and Grace have shown me more genuine family support than my parents or sister ever did. Sometimes the family you choose is more real than the family you're born into. So here I am, thriving in my career, living in my own home, and finally free from the toxic family dynamics that used to weigh me down. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even, it's about getting ahead and never looking back.